Hello, my name is Steve Liffick, and I'm an VP in Microsoft's education engineering team, working on analytics and customer success platforms. And I have the privilege this morning to be sharing the work that we've been doing in education insights, some work that allows the data that is thrown off or produced by our learning platforms, Teams, Office, etc., to be returned to you, the educator, and education system leaders to help drive learning success. We've been working very hard on this, and today I'm going to be telling you the foundational motivation for it, the capabilities of the product today, and even include a sneak peek of some work that will soon be available to you to extend the capabilities of Insights. So the context, the starting point for this is, of course, the unprecedented period of time we have all been through as digital learning platforms were explosively adopted during COVID. This seismic sort of quantum change in the pedagogies of most global education institutions has impacted everyone. And even as in-person schooling begins to come back, and we certainly eagerly look forward to that, there are now 200 million education users globally using Teams as a learning hub. And the digital learning platform and Teams includes Education Insights, the subject of today's talk, but it's more about the opportunity that such platforms have to return information to you, the customer, to the educator, to the education system leaders, students, that helps support the learning process. And so this is why we've built Education Insights, because it turns out it's really hard to teach in the dark. And certainly pre-COVID, we would have said, wow, the physical classroom is a super important resource. It still is, for educators to understand what's going on in the classroom. But in a world where class is actually meeting in the digital domain, unfortunately, you've been in the dark. And the purpose of Insights is to turn on the light. And in fact, to help you, the educator, education system leader, understand what's going on all the way down to the student level, and take advantage of that and the insights we derive from how students are engaging and present to help you ensure that every student has the appropriate, unique, dedicated experience based on a complete understanding of how they are or are not engaging with the platform, Teams, their peers, their assignments, etc. So this is the purpose of Insights. And it's all starts with the student. It's not really the data that drives this. It's what the student is doing as reflected by it. And on an understanding of student, we layer on capabilities at sort of concentric circles to allow constituents to take advantage of insights about what's going on and to make meaningful and informed decisions based on what's actually happening. So what is happening? Well, what's happening is people are working super hard to learn in digital learning platforms. Today, that's often online exclusively, moving towards hybrid, but even in person, kids will have assignments that they do. They'll do work at home. They will do work. In fact, we've often said we may have had an experience with COVID and the digital learning platforms that ends snow days or stay at home sick days, where maybe we got to sit at home on the couch watching game shows or something, trying to feel better. Kids will likely have the opportunity in a great many places to continue attending classes, maybe to their chagrin. But in any event, the learning process and you, the educator's support of it, is what we're all here for. So let's talk about how we think about informing it. The first question, turning on the light. What the heck's going on? And we work super hard to return that information to you in a way that's consumable and sort of processable, because we've done some AI work to sort of pull out what's salient. For example, hey, did you know you've got a student that turns almost all of her students in, or all of her assignments in late? She gets a good grade and she joins meetings late. That's kind of an interesting commonality. And as an educator, you might want to do the metaphoric tap on the shoulder and say, hey, things might be easier for you if you worked a little bit on time management. And you have entire classrooms of students, and being able to understand how the aggregate experience of the classroom is proceeding with the requisite reports to dive in and understand more about that. We're going to drill on this in a moment, but supporting detection of what's going on, reflecting at the class level of what's going on. Of course, Teams, being in a communication hub, presents lots of opportunities to reach out and connect with the student in a message, in real-time communication, perhaps email if that's the desired modality. And finally, and sort of most importantly, educators are constantly taking actions, small shifts, sometimes big shifts, guidance, coaching, sometimes explicit interventions. And the platform is still there watching what's going on. For example, if the aforementioned student took actions based on the mentioned tap on the shoulder, we actually noticed the positive changes too. We noticed, hey, the last 2 assignments were Jasmine turned in on time, and she's no longer late for meetings. So in supporting all of this, let's take a little deeper dive into the capabilities of the product, and we'll talk about what it does today, and then I'll share and preview some of the exciting things coming in the future. The first place to start is the landing page for educators, because teachers have more than one class. And we present a view of, in summary, of the data reflected by all of your classes, seeing students that are present, seeing the engagement at this meta level, so you can see high level trends and quickly spot what you need to look more closely at. Having clicked down a level and decided you want to look more closely at something, you have a class detail overview. And this has several different components on it that, again, provide sort of the next layer of the onion of what's actually going on. And what I want to focus on next are the boxes sort of in the middle, because we've taken work to do the AI and detection of what the data reveal that might not otherwise be clear. For example, did you know that there's a student who wasn't active over a period of time? Or did you know that 40% of your students do assignments late at night? Or that one student hasn't started their assignment? These are examples or insights that are hugely valuable to educators and education system leaders who can take really great actions potentially on them. We, Microsoft, don't have any idea what the appropriate sort of conclusion that should be drawn, or what intervention, if any, or action, if any, should be taken. But what we can do is try to put you, the educator, in possession of the information to make better decisions and help support the learning process on a student-by-student basis. So continuing, you can, of course, look at the view of how students are engaged during the day. So the little blue lines you see in the chart here tell you that students are actually doing work. I'd point out that this is actually done in near real time, so order seconds delay, which means if you've given an assignment to the class to spend the next half hour reading something and writing up a paper, you'll literally be able to see, did they do what you asked them to do? Again, we talk about one of the side effects of this product for students, as distinct from when you or I went to school, is the dog ate my homework excuse is soon a thing of the past. In any event, you, the educator, get to understand what's happening in terms of engagement with the technology. And you also, whoops, I think I went one slide too many. You also get to understand what's going on with grades, and whether or not students are doing well. You can see distribution, how they're doing on assignments, and whether or not they are completing them, turning them in, whether they've been handed back, etc. And of course, how your students are and are not using the communication capabilities of Teams to talk about and have discussions in class, or otherwise demonstrate engagement in the learning process. So all of these, we'll quickly go through the slides, sort of lead to the opportunity to drive into a specific student in any of those dimensions and understand how that specific student is doing if the summary reports present a need to do so. All of this, again, is empowering you to take action to help support the learning journey. So let's now shift gears and talk about some new capabilities that are coming that frankly we're very excited about. The first one I want to talk about is reading progress. This will be available this spring. It's in TAP today. In fact, this was discussed yesterday in a session. Mike Tolson from the engineering team hosted a session about this. But the capability is sort of in two parts. The first is that the assignment service gains the ability to assign a student the task of reading text. The assignment infrastructure then listens to what the student is doing, listens to the words as they are formed, and reports and reflects back which words are said correctly, nearly correctly, or not correctly. It records the student doing this so that you can go back and see what the student and listen to and see how the student formed the words with their mouth and obviously the sound they created. And what you're seeing here is a summary view that allows you, the educator, to see, oh, well, these are the areas that the words, if you will, that are multiple students are finding challenges with. And this is how reading rate progress is happening. Now, a lot of this kind of sort of pedagogical testing is done today by hand. And what this capability will do is support the process of reading, obviously for learning to read for obviously any learners of language, whether that's just emergent learners because they're young or just learning English, or any other language as we expand to support other languages. We're very excited about connecting you, the educator, to this much more powerful, scaled understanding of how reading progress is happening in your classrooms. The next sort of topic and new capability that we are building into Education Insights is called Reflect. And Reflect is a set of capabilities in the social and emotional learning domain. Because we know, as the research reflects, that there have been enormous challenges in the hybrid learning experience and the remote learning experience with student sort of motivation, wide shifts in emotions, challenging for all of us. School, students, work, you, me, we're all feeling it. And in the classroom, we've built a set of capabilities to actually put the educator and indeed the student sort of in the driver's seat with respect to reflecting, hence the name, on how they are feeling and sharing that. So students can report in a simple scale, how are they feeling? And we gather this information up and allow educators to understand what their students are reporting themselves about how they are doing. And of course, you can look at trends over time. You can look at how the class is doing over time. And of course, you can look at how the students are doing over time and begin to get a feel for the collective, at least self-reported mood and how the class is dealing with remote learning. So circling all back around, in this case, there's a student experience as well, right? And what's important about this is you're also helping students understand that they have sort of control and the opportunity and can practice self-expression, sharing how they are doing, and that it matters and that it counts. So for students, they can also see their own trends and reflect on how their mood has changed over time. So this set of capabilities, the ability to do reading progress, to understand reading rates, explicitly drive improvements, and have students practice and improve their reading through assignments in a highly scalable digital way, and to bring social and emotional capabilities to the Insights platform and to the Teams experience and to the Microsoft Education Digital Learning Platform are two exciting, soon to be available extensions coming to the product. So now moving on to another set of new capabilities that are coming to the Education Insights product. And that is, we've talked a lot about the classroom, what teachers for a class or for groups of classes can see and process and understand, and what insights are delivered. Coming now, this is also in TAP. What that means is I'll show you a link at the end of the talk where you can sign up to join. You can join the program to let organizations look at aggregations of data across many teachers with the obvious kinds of buckets, so schools or maybe districts, and look at summary views. So two of the core capabilities that are sort of layered on everything I've talked about so far to deliver this, the first is organizational structure. Right? You have to teach the system which classes belong to which schools, or the system can't actually reflect that accurately. And the way that you do this is school data sync. School data sync connects to the student information system operating in your school, reads out what are the classes, who are the students, how do they fit together into schools if there are multiple schools, and lays all of this information down in such a way that Insights can then use it to create the reporting structure necessary for organizational level insights. And importantly, even critically, one of those capabilities is that as you begin aggregating data, it becomes super important that IT, or for lack of a better way of putting it, the institution, have the ability to scope who can see what data. For example, it's quite common for principals to be given the ability to see the data associated with the classes in their schools, and not necessarily the data associated with classes in other schools. And this product supports that explicit scoping, assigning roles, principal, maybe academician, and then resulting permissions that come with them to scope and scale which subset of the data is available to that person. And then when that person goes to the Insights experience, they see very, very quickly, with the same kind of insights, what's going on at the organizational level and aggregation across all the classes. For example, well, this institution appears to be reflecting moods that are sort of significantly different enough from other institutions in your broader organization that it's made a spotlight. Or this organization is doing really well with digital engagement. This organization perhaps has a higher attendance challenge in its digital meetings in the last week than the other, etc. And of course, at any point, you can drill down into what's actually happening on an organization basis. Sort of with this foundation, or to this foundation of sort of us deriving insights, sort of at a more simple level, the act of the transformation of your organization, the adoption by educators, by students of the digital learning platforms, is something we got a lot of feedback from customers about, wanting to be able to understand how it's going. Are people using it? Are they understanding how engagement's really happening? Sort of a tidbit I mentioned on the first slide, and I didn't say too much about at the time. In some jurisdictions, the state of California, there are several countries who also have regulations. It's actually incumbent on the educational institution to prove that students are attending digital class just as they are required to prove they are attending in-person class. And this product is the means by which you explicitly get the proof that students are engaged. See, they came to class, they did this. And so for a variety of reasons, this is a powerful launch point for understanding how things are going at the organizational level. Still another dimension would be workload. Well, how many hours are people working? You saw the insight about, hey, did you know your kids are doing, 40% of your kids are doing work at night? Well, the institutional version of this might be, gee, this school has significantly higher workloads, as expressed at least in how students are engaging, than does another school. We, Microsoft, have no point of view about what that means. We can't know what that means. It could be one school has too much engagement. It could be one school doesn't have enough. And it could be neither of those is true and exactly the right thing is happening. The point is, leadership shouldn't operate in the dark any more than the teachers in the classroom should operate in the dark. And we are working as fast as we can to continue to provide more and more light, more and more insight and awareness by simply returning the data to you that was yours all along, for what's actually going on. For example, what's what what is the relative mood of your schools, and are there those that we should work on creating a more positive climate? Yet another dimension where the aggregated view can help leadership understand and act and take action intentionally and with understanding instead of being in the dark. So I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes because it's really, really important to emphasize that the data that supports learning is being returned to you, the customer, and only you, the customer, and only for the purpose of supporting learning. We follow several regulations globally, a couple are listed. What's not listed is we also follow Microsoft's stringent compliance standards. Microsoft itself has no permission or access to any of the data that I've just articulated being used to drive insights. It's all done with AI-derived models. And what happens in your tenancy, in your instance of Office 365, stays in your tenancy. No one has permission to see what they do not and are not given permission to see. So I do want to emphasize that we think very, very hard about and work very hard to abide the principles of data security and data privacy, are held to extraordinarily high standards, and understand that what we are doing is returning what has always been the institution's purview and property, meaning how is digital learning proceeding as reflected in the data. It is your data. It's not Microsoft. We're just giving it back to you and working super hard to package it and process it and turn it into a resource that you can use to help kids learn. So that's what it's actually all about. I reflect, to reuse that word myself often, on the privilege I feel personally at having the opportunity to work on technology whose sole purpose is to help learners thrive, to help the constituents who similarly wake up every day with the mission of helping learners thrive. That's you, the educators, the education system leaders. Thank you for sharing this mission with us. Thank you for everything you do. Please keep telling us what more we can do in this product, the products that we've talked about here, and other products. We continue to get refinement or to get feedback, to take it, to refine, and to learn from you. I'm fond of saying we, Microsoft, are not educators. All we can do is listen as hard as we can to those who are, and use what we hear to continue to invest in creating great tooling, great products, and a great platform to help you do your jobs better and to help learners thrive. So as I wrap up, I want to sort of reflect on and provide some more capability, some more resources and other opportunities. The first is a long form of some of the information that I presented here today. This is the first URL. There's a number of resources present, videos, more extensive use cases, etc., that help you understand how Insights is being used, can be used in your institution, in your classroom going forward. And the next link is about getting help onboarding. And in particular, I mentioned that the leader version of Insights today is in a TAP program. That means a scoped or limited set of customers who we are adding to the set of customers using it as we gain confidence in the product's completeness and readiness, listen, fix the obvious gaps, and grow and learn, getting ready to launch this product in the spring. And if you are interested in taking advantage of that product in your institution, there's a form to fill out there to go and express that interest. So aka.ms insights, resources, and insights join. That's how you can find out more information. And I'll sort of wrap things up as I sort of stated in the slide previous. Thank you sincerely from Microsoft, certainly from myself personally, from our team, for inspiring us to work as hard as we can to help you do what you do. It's amazing. And we look forward to hearing from you, learning from you, and continuing to do even more to inspire us to help you. Thank you very much.